Good morning. I'm John McClure, and we are gathered here at the Sebring First Church to bring you another series for the God at Work series that we're dealing with, another presentation. And we have with us as panelists today, we have Greg Griffin, who is with the Building Department, City of Sebring. We have Cesar Martinez, who is a Director of Loss Control with CHAP Insurance. And we have Becca Campman, who is a social worker with One Hope United. So it's going to be a great panel today. I'm kind of excited, really. These folks have a lot to add and bring out with our God at Work series. As usual, though, before we begin, I need to put in a pitch for Strangely Warm Coffee. That's the coffee that's produced here at First Methodist Church, and we have coffee mugs, we have coffee for sale, all sorts of things. And now you see, you can buy it in beans, you can buy it ground up, whatever. We import this from Peru. It's organic, and we roast it right here at the church. It's got a very different and very unique and wonderful taste. So stop by and try it. We have our trailer that's located on South Ridgewood Drive, right next to the bicycle shop, Legacy Bicycle Shop, and it's open from 7 to 9:30 each weekday morning. I think you'd really enjoy it. And if you need some coffee, I understand that the church folks will deliver it to you. So it's $10 a bag, and it's great coffee. Okay, I know you didn't want that commercial, but I just had to give it anyway. So, my name is John McClure. I'm a local attorney here in town, and I will be the moderator for this panel in our God at Work series. So, as we get started today, let's just talk about some things. First of all, God at Work is the concept, basically, that God is a 24/7 God, and that's certainly what we all believe. There are some who kind of just go to church and then don't think much more about God the rest of the week until time to go back. But we firmly believe here that God is always with us, and indeed not just with us, but has helped us to choose our profession, is with us as we go through life, and is always there for us. So with that concept in mind, we're all dealing with the problem called COVID-19. We don't seem to be able to get away from it. And with that in mind, let me start with Becca. Becca, how do you live within your work to show others God in your life, and especially those who might be affected with COVID-19, if you have anything like that you're dealing with?
Well, in my work, we are essential workers. We are still working. We are still out in the field, seeing our kids and our families that we serve, ensuring safety of our children and our communities. Unfortunately, through COVID, our offices have had to close. We are working from home. We only have admin staff in our offices. All of our case managers are having, of course, to take precautions to make sure that they are keeping the families they serve safe. So hand sanitizer, gloves, masks, things like that. And in child welfare, one of the things that I find that God works in my life every day with child welfare is it helps me to not get angry. It helps me to be gracious and forgiving. It helps me to show grace to those that I serve every day. When I come up to a situation, and COVID's really caused a lot of situations that we wouldn't have typically had, I have to think, I can get angry in the situation. I can have certain feelings in a situation, or I can think, all right, what would God want me to do in this situation? How can I work in these people's lives to help not only bring them to a better situation in life, but to show them that there's more than what they already have? I have invited people to church. I have invited people to watch online now that we're not having services in the church. I have prayed with clients. So
as a social worker, you actually go into the homes of many people, I believe. One time you did, anyway.
At one time I did, yes. Now I'm an assistant director, so I'm at the office more, but I still have contact with clients.
So do you find that in sharing faith with clients, either through your actions or through your words, that gives them some sort of comfort to know that you're there and that God is in their life?
I think so. There's been instances where things have happened. Children have gotten sick. Their family members have died. They have had close calls, and me just telling them, well, I'm going to pray for you if that's okay, makes a difference to them, because it does show them that, well, their family may not be happy with them. A lot of our clients, their families just don't have much to do with them anymore. To know that there's somebody in their life that cares about them helps a lot of our clients get through their days, because a lot of them are helpless and hopeless.
Do you ever see that perhaps through this prayer that some of them are convicted of the wrongfulness of their current actions?
I don't think they see it that way at first, but I do think it helps them to understand that their lives are worth more than what they think they are.
Yeah.
And that's something I work with my clients a lot, is your life is worth more than what you think it is. Your life is worth more than the drugs that you take. Your life is worth more than that domestic violence relationship that you're in. You're worth more alive, that people love you. And a lot of them don't have that. They don't think that they're worth anything. They don't think that people love them and that they're worth that love.
I've often felt that one of Satan's greatest tools is to impart in people a lack of self-worth.
Yes.
That if you don't feel like you are worthy of something, then you're unable to function properly, as God has created us to do. I expect you might see a lot of that in your line of work.
I do.
I see a lot of that in mine too, by the way. I felt that sometimes. I think we probably all have at some point in life. So, Mr. Griffin, how is God at work in your life, sir?
Oh, that's an easy question. Every breath, it's a lifestyle. It's the way we walk, the way we, basically the way we function. Our family's rooted in it. Our children are rooted in it. That's it.
Just the way you
it's
are.
Just the way we roll. Yeah, I mean, it's the moral foundation from which we function.
Sure. So at home then, do you have Bible studies with the family together?
Actually, we do. We do more integrated studies and integrated applications. So when we find teaching moments through life, which recently life's handed us plenty, we take those opportunities to explain, from biblical context, what those are. Laura's especially good at tying in the biblical
She
side
would
of
be.
life.
Okay. Well, your situation is a little different, perhaps, than Becca's or Caesar's or even mine, in that you work for a public entity, and so given the restrictions on governmental influence on religion and that sort of thing, how do you find it possible to live with God at work, so to speak?
Well, I think it goes back to a quote that I heard years ago, that the only version of God most people may see will be the reflection of God through you. And I think it's how we walk, how we live every day that people see. And oftentimes people notice something different, and they'll, ask, why are you being nice to me? Why are you being reasonable and pragmatic with me? Because all they've hit everywhere they've gone is roadblocks. So people see the difference.
I believe you're right about that. So Caesar, let's go to you.
Okay.
Yours is a little different job in that. Tell us a little bit about what you do, first of all.
Okay. My job is to keep my clients' employees, or should I say, help enable my clients to keep their employees safe. Director of Loss Control is just a fancy title, if you would. But the scope of that is, again, to work with my clients and their supervisor, administrative people, to help enable them to keep their employees safe in every regard in the workplace. So intervention, interaction, I enjoy thoroughly what I do, and I've been at it now for many years. In this particular group I'm with, just 10 years. COVA has presented some new challenges, and if I can jump ahead on you, John, but it has presented some new challenges because I don't have the ability now, or should I say I'm respecting the compliance issues of remaining distant. So I'm not able to do the one-on-one or the group training that I did before. And I enjoyed that because I saw some results. And if I can just kind of dovetail a little bit on what Becca said about people's worth and value and understanding, I use that a lot in my work to help the workers understand that their life is worth a lot. Their safety is what's important when it comes to their day-to-day work. And it's not so much the injury, we want to prevent that, but as the result of that injury, what cascades down, it impacts not only them, their employer, but their family. So we have a lot of those types of discussions, and unfortunately, I'm not able to do it in the group settings where I get the most bang for our buck.
Yes.
Training. So
I understand that. I think the inability to meet one-on-one with people, to have a close relationship with people, to hug people, let's call that like it is, okay? I like to interact with people. I like to shake hands. I like to be close to people. And I think that's important. It's important in the way we communicate with others, what they think of us as humans, as other people. Becca, you mentioned that COVID has taken away some home visit stuff for your folks. I would think in your line of work as a social worker that is a very important aspect to what you're doing. The ability to link up with somebody either through your eyes or through whatever. There's a lot of communication that goes on like that, and a lot of ability to tell somebody that you care. I really care about you. I'm here to help you. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. But social work is a lot about intervention. It's about stopping things that are wrong and helping people get on the right track. Has that completely stopped now with COVID-19, or are the social workers in your organization still able to go into the house, but with protections like the mask and gloves and things like that?
We're still able to do home visits, and of course we're regulated. We have to do the home visits, but they are done a little bit differently now. If there is no COVID risk in the home or a low COVID risk in the home, we can wear masks. We can go into the homes. If there's a higher COVID risk, sometimes we'll meet the families out in the yards, in the open air, where we can maintain the social distancing. If there's, and there's some that if they are at risk for COVID, our elderly are very, very young that we deal with. Sometimes we'll do face-to-face visits through FaceTime, Zoom, Skype, things like that, because we want to protect our clients. We want to make sure that those that are most vulnerable aren't exposed due to us. We want to make sure that we're not bringing germs from home to home or from our home to their home. So we are being very cognizant of how we conduct our home visits, which does make it a little bit more difficult because by nature, social workers want that one-on-one contact.
Sure.
We want to be with our clients. We want to be with the kids that we serve. We want to be with each other. And that's hard to do. We're a huge support system. Social workers, especially in my line of work, we support each other. We're family. And it's like not being able to see your family because we can't go in the office and have that contact with each other anymore. We're doing Zoom meetings and Skype meetings and things like that, phone calls, text messages. But we're not having that one-on-one like we normally do. So it does cause us to feel more disconnected from our coworkers, from our clients. But we're doing the best that we can and making sure we're keeping everybody safe.
You bring up an interesting point, and that is with technology today, with the word that we never knew much before, that's now household name, Zoom, and so many other big suppliers getting into the Team Act, Google Hangout, I guess, and Microsoft Meet and Teams, and all these sorts of things. So I guess the question I have is this: is technology here to stay, which I think it is, and if so, how can we still use technology to glorify God in the workplace? I think it's harder to do that. What are your thoughts, Greg?
Well,
hard question, I know. My apologies.
our use of technology has changed pretty significantly with the COVID virus. from an office perspective, we were completely paper-driven. In other words, people would submit paper applications. We've gone completely virtual, even down to inspections. We don't enter any houses that are occupied. So all of our inspections are virtual. Most of our interactions with contractors are virtual. So it's really become somewhat of a sterile environment. And, you know, the interaction with God where you have those side conversations, you know, when you're for us, when we're on a job site, a lot of those unfortunately have gone away. It's a much more sterile, like I say, sterile environment. You miss that human touch, that human interaction. You know, the only plus side is it's taken our efficiency through the roof. So what would normally take, you know, 20, 30 minutes to drive to a site, do the inspection, and drive back takes about 3.5 minutes, and then it's done. That being said, I think there are still small instances where we have the opportunity to interact from a faith-based perspective, but less so in the government side.
You know, technology can be a real time saver. We've all seen that. And at the same time, there are some very negative things that can flow from technology. I think if you look at social media as an example, it can be very positive. For instance, in this time of COVID-19, when we can't really interact with each other, we're still able to do things like tune into our church worship. We can even more than just our church. There are churches everywhere that are broadcasting. So there's more of that. And at the same time, you look at social media, and I think with the cooped up way that we have to live now, people are feeling the pressure of that. And as a result, they feel more able to speak out on social media in negative ways. So having said all that, Caesar, let me just ask you, how has this technology change affected what you do? Has it at all?
Oh, it has, and I'm going to go back to your statement about how do we envision technology and glorifying God. I think that there's no question, and I'm not a technological person. I'm a little bit old school when it comes to technology. Having said that, I see the breadth and the depth of the advantages of it. However, I don't want to lose the intimacy that we have in the relationship with God and being able to do that face to face and with people. I miss that part. When I use those tools and technologies to teach classes, I don't let the film say what I want to have said in and of itself. So I trust and hope that God will use us to use technology appropriately, but keep that intimacy that we need to have. And if that's a hug, an embrace on Sunday mornings at the church, I miss that. If that's a handshake with my client, to be able to look at them eyeball to eyeball and say, you know, we're making progress, or you know what, we still need to change some things, I miss that. And I miss the opportunity of stopping a tractor operator in the middle of a field who's jumping off a tractor inappropriately, and before he breaks his leg, have a conversation. I miss that. So technology is here to stay, and probably COVID-19 is going to push that further along than maybe some of us will be willing to accept. But again, I go back to, I hope we don't lose the intimacy, that intervention that we can do with folks.
Yes, very important.
I think there's a whole generation that's been criticized for not being able to have interactions and have conversations with people because of their upbringing around technology. And a lot of the rest of us are being confronted with it. So it's, you know, we're starting to see that those challenges arise.
Sometimes the old ways can be the best ways. And, you know, you look at dinner tables in America today, and rarely is the family even together at the dinner table. But when they are, often half of them have their phones out with their thumbs running, and or they're thinking about or talking about something to do with technology, and they're not really interacting with each other as much as perhaps they could or should. So let's ask a couple of questions. The first thing I want to ask is, let's deal with COVID-19. What has COVID-19 taken from you? if I could ask that question. Greg, how would you start with that?
Yes, I'll follow up with what Cedar was saying. You know, I'm very much driven by that handshake, that face-to-face meeting, and I enjoy that. I enjoy that personal interaction. I enjoy being able to go out and have conversations with folks. Sure. And now that distance, it's created a very sterile environment, and it's almost melancholy, for lack of better terms. And it's you know, the world that we live in is full of color, but it seems to be that it's losing it. So it's sad. It's a trying time, you know, for us that do enjoy the handshake or enjoy the hug. It's very different.
Becca, how would you answer that?
In my personal life, it has taken away my ability to see my family. I have a very close-knit family. I haven't been able to visit my family as often as we usually do. It's taken away time with friends. It's taken my kids out of school, so they aren't seeing their friends. They aren't having that social interaction. For kids, socialization is very important in their development. And now we have all of our kids who aren't having that socialization. So I worry very much about what it's going to be like when, especially the little kids, go back to school next year. Because they're going to have 5 or 6 months where they haven't had that socialization.
I think that is such a great point.
And
You know, when you think about even before COVID, well before COVID, we had social media, and instead of talking with each other, now everything is with the thumbs, even in the same room. And so I think that social interaction, loss of social interaction, started a ways back, but it's been multiplied now with what we're dealing with. And I don't think that point can be emphasized enough, is just how important we are designed by God to interact with people. And I think that Satan uses the tool of cruel things said on social media that seemingly are posted and never go away and just bother people when you have to read them again. It's a sad situation, especially for those who are young and don't have their judgment genes formed yet and have to deal with all of these things. It's very influential on them and drives their lives much more so than the influence of their parents or others that might be around them. Yeah, good, very good point. Caesar?
Well, I think we've pretty much discussed what the fundamental, and that's that interaction. And kind of on a light side, I miss not being able to go to Publix without having my 3 children all over me about why am I there? Why aren't I wearing my mask? Why aren't I wearing my gloves? And but I say that in the spirit of a jokingly manner. I appreciate their watching over. But yeah, I just pray and hope that we're able to turn the corner without too much damage about that social interaction. And you bring up a great point with our children. It's great now that they're able to interact with their families at home. And I see a lot of that up and down the streets, of the bicycling and walking and those things. But at the end of the day, that social interaction has got to go beyond the home as well. And so I think, if anything, it has taken that ability to get out there and shake the hands and hug the folks and let
Excellent
them know
point.
that we all love them just like the Lord does.
Good point. So I just have to give I know that I'm the moderator here, but I have to give a quick testimony myself, if I may. And here's what it is. My daughter lives in New York City and has a new baby who's about 20 months old now. And she and her husband sometimes weren't real good about calling, shall we say. And because we can no longer travel to New York, we have all started this program where every Sunday we FaceTime, Skype with each other. And so my little granddaughter doesn't forget who Papa John and Gigi are. And we're able to, we make up a new song each week and sing to her, and she just loves that. She comes right up to the screen, tries to reach through the screen and touch us. And so we actually speak for about an hour. And I don't think any phone conversation I've had has been longer than 15 minutes before this. So for us to be on with them for a full hour on every Sunday has been extremely good for us, extremely meaningful. So that's just a good thing to come out of COVID-19, ironically. I'd much rather be there holding her and my family but you do what you can do. And for us to be able, through social media, to do something like that's a very good thing, I think. So let's wrap it up with this. One more question. What has COVID-19 not taken from you? That's an interesting thought. Greg, let's kick it off.
Well, probably the thing that it's done, and I'm just going to go to the positive side as opposed to not taking it from us, is it has taken away our busy schedule. You know, we were out of the house at 7 o'clock in the morning in between sports and other social and civic engagements. We didn't get home till 7 or 8 or 9 o'clock at night. Most dinners were on the road. You know, lunch was out every day. Dinner was out 9 out of 10 or 5, 6 out of 7 days. And even breakfast was a rush if it was even eaten. This has forced us to slow down, and it's forced us to, focus on what's important and look back and really find those things that we do enjoy and focus on them and do them together. We've been very fortunate that we have the ability to play outside. We've got room to do it, and we've honestly had a blast with our kids. Now, they think they should be out skiing 6 hours a day and 7 days a week. They don't particularly get excited about having to do their schoolwork, but they've also come to the realization that they can do their work efficiently, and we can all do our work efficiently, and then we have playtime. And that's really what we're all working towards is that playtime. So the positive thing for us is through efficiency, our playtime has really grown exponentially. So I have no complaints, and I honestly, there's been a lot of conversations about life going back to the old normal. Well, I'm kind of enjoying the new normal, and I hope for some of these better parts of it, we get to stay here permanently.
I've had that same thought. Just altogether too busy a life at some point, So, Becca?
Kind of piggybacking off of Greg, it's the time I've been able to spend with my kids. I have teenagers, and teenagers are not known for wanting to spend much time with mom or dad. So it's nice to, with me working from home, the majority of the time I've been able to spend more time with my kids. I've been able to be more involved in their schoolwork. I've been able to be more involved in their lives. They're not out and going as much as what they were before. Like last night, Brian, Lincoln, and I were able to take a bike ride. And before that, Brian would have been working late. I would have been on the phone working late. And Lincoln would have been tired from everything he did during the day. So we were able to have good family time last night. And my older child, he's 14. Yeah, he's 14. Almost forgot how old he was. He has been more where he wants to be with the family more. He's coming out of his room more. He's not with friends as much. So it's nice to have that time with family.
It would be great to have that, yes.
It's been really, really great because I only have them for a couple more years before they're in college. So this has made my mommy heart very happy.
And Caesar, wrap it up for us.
Well, as I hear everybody talking, there's common threads through all of it. I guess from my perspective, what COVID has not done, and this is not something that just came lately, it's been the building process, is losing my trust in God that He's been in control, is in control, and always will be in control.
Well said.
And so we, Patsy and I, sit on the porch in the evenings and didn't realize how many songs a mockingbird had until we took the time to sit there and listen. And so we've been able to enjoy a lot of things, but it hasn't taken away the spirit, and it never will.
Close us out, if you would. I see you have your Bible with you. Do you have a particular verse you'd like to share?
Yes, I would. In Proverbs, and it's very simple, and it's labeled as advice to children, but we're all children of God. And I'm just going to read Proverbs 3, and I believe it's verse 4. Trust the Lord with all your heart, and don't depend on your own understanding.
Well said. I can't think of a better way to wrap this one up. Thank you. Thank you all for joining us. Greg Griffin, Cesar Martinez, Becca Campbell. Join us again next week at 8 o'clock on Wednesday morning. We look forward to seeing you there with a new panel, and we'll talk again about God at Work.